BlackRock buys 7,860 Bitcoin worth $877.2 million, almost $1 billion worth. So, what are we seeing? What are we noticing here? BlackRock is buying Bitcoin at record levels. Why are they doing that? Because the more Bitcoin they have, the more control they have. They understand, the scarcity. They understand, the potential of this asset class. And as the entire world is behind this asset now, there's so much regulation coming in. BlackRock is quietly just picking up Bitcoin day by day by day. Let's face it, when there was that bloodbath, retracement, which again is healthy in a bull market, it's very normal. As a person that has been in the crypto space for over almost 10 years next year, it's absolutely crazy to think about. We are used to these movements. If you've seen markets move up in a bull market, you do tend to see sharp declines as well. And I've been, quite clear in every single update of mine that, we're still in a bull market. You do see fluctuations happening. And guess what? BlackRock was picking up Bitcoin regardless of the price being up, regardless of the price being close to all-time highs or retracing down to $70,000. Whatever the case was, they were picking up Bitcoin. And as time goes by, of course, it becomes even harder to mine BTC. So it's getting harder and harder to obtain Bitcoin. And of course, for a regular person, it's just not a possibility that easily to obtain Bitcoin, because it is worth a lot of money. But welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel, to the XRP family. Appreciate you guys as always. Let's take a look at what's happening and what we could be expecting going into Friday morning. So looking across the board, a lot has changed, and I will of course pull the charts out and explain what that is. But even though we're seeing agreeing across the board, you're still seeing memes outpacing the utility projects. XRP is up $2. I'm sorry, at $2.45, up about 1.7% in USD, and also up 2.2% in Bitcoin comparative valuation since our last update, 144 billion almost. So we increased about almost $3 billion in the valuation in just a short span of time, and the 24-hour trading volume is approaching 4 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So look at this: JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, and other major US banks explore creating a joint crypto stablecoin. They're coming. They want to get the piece of the pie. And of course, a lot of people are going to come out and say, why not RLUSD? Of course, that it's not that, they're not going to use it. This is just still up in the air. RLUSD is positioned, to really, take the overall market for stablecoin, especially when you look at it from a regulatory standpoint, and, the usability, and of course, the presence that Ripple has for itself, and the expertise. Because let's face it, one thing that a lot of people will not realize is JP Morgan, Bank of America, these are some big names, but they don't have that expertise when it comes to blockchain technology. And this is where Ripple comes and changes the game. So whether they use RLUSD or not, I think at some point they are going to be looking into tokenization. And remember, for tokenization, XRP Ledger is that one-stop shop. Aside from JP Morgan, Bank of America, there's a lot of bigger entities out there, a lot of bigger institutions, a lot of bigger, clientele that could come on board and, obviously start using Ripple products. And, there's been around hundreds of, if like 1,700 different NDAs that have been signed, with Ripple. So of course, big things are happening behind the scenes, in my opinion. Just people are not paying attention to it, and I think in the near future we're really going to start seeing that. Of course, people focus more on the native token, what's really happening with the price, but just not focus on, as far as the product is concerned, the big waves they're making, and they're making big waves across the globe, not just within the US, and we've been knowing that. But moving forward, you could see, Bo Heen says, under President Trump, we will ensure that the U.S. persists as the crypto capital and Bitcoin superpower of the world. This is just the beginning. And in the next 4 years, under his, presidency, I think, a lot can happen. You could really make a staple and, have US become the global hub, which of course, once that is done, then it's really, really set in stone, and, big entities could really start operating. Big businesses could launch. Crypto businesses could launch within the U.S. So it all stays in house. So even if crypto does go globally, which it already is, most of the innovation standpoint and interest would be driving to the country that actually is the capital, which again, U.S. wants to become. And I think, the things that we're seeing happening, it's really, really positive for the crypto market. Moving forward, look at this. Singaporean investors are quietly stacking XRP. Momentum is building as interest in Ripple's utility and long-term potential grows in Asia. So you can see, this is a list that kind of goes over, the different assets, the Singaporeans obviously hold. You can see top held cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin maintains its dominant position, owned by 68% of crypto investors. However, ownership of alternative cryptocurrencies had increased significantly, and XRP is at 17%. And again, not a surprise, we're talking about one of the largest assets in the crypto space and has a lot of presence for itself. One of the biggest, armies, XRP army. You just cannot, battle with these guys. These guys are very strong. They've stuck around no matter what happened. You guys saw when the lawsuit originally came out, the price of XRP tanked sharply. They held, and, they have resilience and patience, and they deserve, all the gains that they have already seen, and, what is yet to come. They deserve it more than ever. And if the ETF gets approved, I could not be more excited for the XRP community. But moving forward, look at this. We kind of want to talk about the Bitcoin cycles. This, chart has gone, within the crypto space quite a bit. So I wanted to kind of shed some light on it. You could see, this is the historic price pattern, phase 1, phase 2, and then, the banana zone. And I personally think we're already here. I don't care what people say. Historically speaking, we're already here because we're all literally almost halfway through the year of 2025, which is really hard for some people to grasp. But believe it or not, yes, we have already, crossed half of the year. And I think, crypto market is already within this range. Bitcoin is setting itself for that second all-time high. So, the second phase for BTC. And then, when Bitcoin kind of cools off, that's where you do see that banana zone because dominance is to be expected to go down. So very exciting months coming potentially, in the next few months to come. And I'm very optimistic. Of course, we're going to take it one step at a time. But historically speaking, I think this is where really excitement kicks in. And of course, if ETFs get approved by then, boom. I think it's just the icing on the cake. But let's talk about what's really happening with the price. So if you're looking at the dominance, dominance did pull down quite sharply over the last few hours, which gave altcoins a little bit of a room to push towards the upside. But you're looking at Bitcoin dominance, picking up once again. We're back up to 63.8%. But the fact that, we did go down really gave altcoins a push, and we can see that really across the board. BTC, let's give it a refresh live. Bitcoin also did see a little bit of a retracement. While Bitcoin saw a retracement, you also saw dominance pulling down, which of course, like I said, it's going to be a positive impact on altcoins, meaning, money is actually not leaving the crypto space, it's staying within the crypto space, but going back into the alts, and that's exactly what ended up happening. If you're looking at XRP did wake up to, $2.48. Yes, $2.48. Beautiful to see. Slow but surely, we are heading towards, the main target, which is the 23.6. Patience is really being tested for a lot of people, but, patience is your number one key to follow at the end of the day. As long as you've done your due diligence research and have invested what you afford can lose, then. So, if you've done those three things, then patience is your number one key to follow. But so far, so good. Like what I'm seeing here. We'll let you guys know what happens tomorrow. If you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that red subscribe button, and we'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.